Hello and welcome into the Sorare Data Show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare, joined as always on a Monday here, as mostly PSU2, Sean Newsham. And joining us today, classic NepentheZ. Nep, what's up?
Oh, that is classic NepentheZ, isn't it? What's up? Not a lot, man. Just loving Sorare right now.
That's what I'm talking about here. I just want to show you something really quickly because I didn't notice this until just a few seconds ago. But on the thumbnail that I made for this video, it kind of looks like either you are wearing an earring or you have like maybe a bloody earlobe from getting a new earring.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the sock. It is the Sokka card behind you. But I was like, now one of those things that you just can't unsee once you see it.
Yeah. Look how good my hair was then.
Oh, you should see my hair from back when I was younger. It was so curly and was great, and just.
Aren't you in your 20s?
Oh, we've seen it though.
What?
We've seen your 10-year ago Haber lookalike.
Did I pull out my college ID card?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I have seen that actually. Yeah.
I
kid you not. I messaged Haber as soon as I saw that, being like, I messaged Josh XL was saying, if you like, without telling him, I was like, if you don't know who this is, who do you think it is? And he said Haber.
Yeah, without that, if anyone hasn't seen it, here's my Penn State ID card. This was
no, that isn't. That is a picture that Haber took when he went to your house before, and he's trolling you.
I love how quickly you can pull that. Is it in your wallet to this day?
Yeah. Why would I take it out of my wallet?
Like, what do you need it for?
To remind me of the good old days, you know? No, you never know when you're gonna be on a college campus and you gotta be like, "Hey, I'm a college student, bro."
Yeah, and they're gonna be like, "Why have you got a fake ID?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't really clean stuff out of my wallet, to be fair. Like, I still have like a bunch of casino cards from like a long time ago that is in here, like
just in case you end up.
I don't even know what like this one's from, but like, yeah,
it says it on the
yeah, no, but I don't know.
Like, the name on the card, I would have no idea.
No, legit. Like, I don't know what casino this is from. I don't know.
Mohegan Sun. You were here.
Yeah, this is from Mohegan Sun. Yes, that is correct. Reading the back of it, that's what it looked like. I was in Mohegan Sun probably a decade ago. No, it wasn't from up by you. It was in Jersey. It was in Atlantic City.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep.
Anyway. Speaking of old things, let's talk about classic cards. Actually, before we do that, thanks everyone for coming in. Kev Hurd, Major NFT, and Bob Franklin on the podium. Way to be, guys. Limpy's not able to watch it live, but came in just for the podium attempt and said, after I finished the 5-hour stream from Nep. That's a short one for you, Nep.
It was actually only about 2.5 or 3 hours today, to be fair. It wasn't long.
Oh, and it was today? I missed it already today? Man.
Well, we just talk about the same thing over and over now. It's not new news. Do you know what I mean? It is literally the same words, the same people saying the same things, and me responding the same.
Sounds riveting.
Yes, it's good. It is.
Anyway, Toby, what's up? Ben Johnson, T-minus 24 hours until the bomb. Anyone know what it is?
Yes.
Sweet. All right.
Oh, wow. Nep knows what it is. Wow, look at that. I don't know what it is.
Ben Johnson said that looks like a bomb threat, which I suppose that.
Oh, wait, time out. Was this one of those things? All right, so like Americans do shit like really poorly in a lot of ways, I think. But the one thing I think that Americans do things correctly in is how they have month, then day, then year, or year, like whatever the way.
You were looking for October 9th?
Yeah, so I was like, oh, why are you posting a tweet about something coming out in a month from now, Nicholas? But like, okay, that makes more sense. I always get confused. Like, all right. Meters makes way more sense than inches in the American system. Like there's stuff Celsius makes way more sense than like Fahrenheit. But I think the way that we date things is better than the way that the rest of the world dates things.
You got anything on that, Nat?
I don't care.
You don't like moving on. All right.
It's not something I've ever thought too deeply about. Like,
yeah.
Sometimes you can just tell, like, you know, otherwise, I struggled to sometimes find, like, you know, the 25th day of the 14 month. And so I just immediately know it's the American system because obviously 1425, or, you know, there's days where it's like, you know, you're like, well, this can't be like real.
Agreed. That can't be real. Anyway, Weekend not happy about the Le Normand red. I don't even know what happened there. Anyway, Toby said Joao Felix is going to be worthless forever, which is really harsh and probably fair. Peter, what's up? Agent Cooper, I know there's a football stream, but how is the US Open was fun.
Oh, I saw that. That looked cool, Laird.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Who was I rooting for?
I mean, that's a valid question. I don't think anyone roots for Taylor Fritz or whatever his name is. If TFO was in there, there wouldn't have been a question. Like, obviously, everyone loves TFO, but
no, it was easily. I was saying to somebody that Taylor Swift was there, and I was wondering if that was the first time in her life she had ever been somewhere where thousands of people are yelling Taylor, and it wasn't about her.
Probably still was about her.
It was probably about her. You're right. Pepetta, what's up? Matt, Liam, Super Totoro. That's fun to say. Ahmed, what's up? John CFC, Mike Basson, Stefan, everybody's here. David, Clean Sheets. Do you guys see the letters CS and just immediately think clean sheet? Or am I just weird like that? No?
No, or Counter-Strike.
Yeah, that's where my head went. Counter-Strike.
Yes. Nerds. Investor Dur, what's up? Look at this. Calling you two goats.
Not wrong.
Do you guys have a comment on the October Sorare calendar?
Didn't even look at it yet.
Oh. People are angry at me because I got angry about one of the contests.
Yeah, which is like, I'm with them.
What did you get? Great. What did you get upset about?
So there is a anti-stack special that has no collection bonus.
Seems fine.
Yeah, you idiots would think that. Anyway. You know what's weird? I see that. I don't know how you would even say this. CX Keen. And the first thing that came to my mind was chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming in live. Philly Dilly, Alex Alvarado on the screenshot. What happened to that guy? Nep, what happened to that guy?
He's living the dream now. He's back scoring goals and getting decisives, mate. Yeah. Finally going to start getting some return on investment. Universidad Católica.
Chile?
Like South America somewhere.
The funny thing is, the other person we talked about in that stream would have absolutely destroyed him, but he's now in Saudi Arabia.
Who's that?
Desart. That was the
oh, has it? Yeah.
It was Desart versus Alvarado, and Alvarado then didn't have a decisive for like 2 years, and then Desart's now dead.
That is a throwback. Anyway, MLS Source Scout Malky, what's up? I'm going to stop doing this because I'm already way behind. Anyway, I was very interested in having the two of you talk about Classic because you are both mostly pro Classic competitions in Sorare, and you play them very differently. And Nep, you've done a bunch of videos recently. If anybody hasn't seen them, they're over on Nep's Sorare channel. Is it just NepentheZ Sorare?
It's actually at NFT. Fantasy NFT. Yeah.
Wow. Branching out?
That's just what I called the channel. When they ask you to like put in what your channel name should be, I was like I wanted to be like more than just Sorare, because there was a few other things back then that were pyramid schemes that, you know, I wanted to like do content on. And I thought, like fantasy NFTs would be a good name. I was like, there's no way somebody doesn't already have that. They didn't. So I took it.
How about that? Yeah. No NFT fantasy pyramid scheme was taken already?
I was gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Bummer. Anyway. Go check those out because they've been excellent. And just for those of you who haven't caught them yet, Nep, quick 5 lines on your last 18 hours of content.
Classic isn't dead. In fact, it's probably in the best place it's ever been in. But they do have a long-standing issue with the game in the next probably 2 to 4 years with the number of cards that are going to become Classic.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You don't even have to go over to and watch his videos. Just like and subscribe. Yeah. Sean, what do you think about Classic these days? Because you recently won a Classic competition that got you an absolutely banging reward, which you then turned into Classic cards.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is. So I'm not going to go as strong as what Nep did. And I didn't technically win a Classic comp per se. I won a special. So it's a little bit different. But I think Classic isn't as bad as people make it out to be. I think the big disconnect with Classic is that people just disrespect the shit out of Essence more so than they should. And that's where the real disconnect is. And I also, though, I do understand why people have a little bit of a disconnect with Essence, which you and I talked about a little bit. I'm sure we'll talk about today. I think it would help fix some of the things with regards to Essence and why people just don't really care about it as much and why they don't care about getting their boxes as much anymore. But the reason I turned it into Classic cards is I had a hole in Champ Europe in general in the Super Rare level, and I can't really compete in La Liga at the super rare level in season. So me winning a Vinny Jr. super rare, I don't really have the funds to go buy the cards I would need to buy to probably make that worthwhile. Playing it in champ just doesn't make as much sense. So I'm just sitting there with a card where I'm like, this is just not going to do me much good for at least probably 2 months. So I was like, all right, well, this makes no sense then for me to hold this card. I'd rather sell it to someone who would have more interest immediately. Like, so I won Undav Unique and I won the Vinny Jr. Super Rare in season. I literally went to the
top tackler, for those of you who are unaware.
What?
You won it from the top tackler.
Yes, I won top tackler, U, and super rare. So I literally opened up the Sorare data and went to the Bundesliga in-season competitions and messaged every single person that plays Bundesliga in-season, like, hey, do you want the Undav card? So I'm talking to Bambi, I'm talking to Bellama, talking to Pranksy, talking to whoever I would need to talk to. And then I'm also like, none of these guys have a Vinny Jr. card. Let me see if they got one of those too. So I talked to Bambi. Bambi's like, yeah, I want Undav. We worked out a deal for Undav. Then I'm like, perfect. How about Vinny Jr.? You want him? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, so this is what the gap is. And I know he's probably down to get rid of some old cards that are good cards in the super level. I'm like, perfect. How about this? I'll compile a list. You let me know what is on this list from a shopping perspective, and then we'll make a deal somewhere in there. So I was happy with it. I thought it was pretty good. But yeah, so I think that Classic is not near as dead as what people make it out to be. I'm not saying it is the best thing of all time, but like if you have decent cards, you can still produce. I think there's two takeaways why people bitch about challenge, or why they bitch about Classic being dead. First one, Essence. I just talked about it a little bit. We'll talk about it more as we go. Second, people are bitching because they just have shit cards, and those shit cards aren't winning anymore, whereas they used to win Threshold. And they're not having success because they're trying to run these trash bag cards in competitions that just don't get the job done.
I just couldn't agree more with that. That is absolutely bang fucking on.
Look at this, me and Nep.
Thanking everybody for coming. Nep, you did talk about that in your one of your recent videos, and it wasn't quite that direct. Well, it probably was direct. Maybe it wasn't quite as didn't have a PSU spin on it. I'll put it that way. But it does feel like that's where it comes down to. And one of the things that I've kind of said recently is like the elimination of Threshold and like a beat the game has made everybody think everything about Classic cards is bad.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just like clouding everything right now.
Yeah, 100%. Like the whole, but I used to be able to win $2 with these piles of shit. Like, yeah, okay, cool, you did. But they were still piles of shit. And all you were doing was just taking money from Sorare and devaluing cards that actually had value because you didn't need those cards. And the hilarious irony now of the price points of Classic cards, for example, I think Rare Van Dijk is about £50 or £60. Is like you used to pay £50 or £60 for like a tier 3 piece of shit because that's the value it had in like 240. Now you can get Van Dijk for that same price, but the card that you've got is now worth like £2. And so the way not that Sorare didn't really give us enough notice, because they kind of did, but the way it is now is you almost have to write off everything you had previously, just scrap it and just start again. Even if that's in Classic, just start again. And that's where I think people are really frustrated, is because what they had was already losing value, which was propped up by the cap modes, especially the Threshold. And for them to now actively play at a competitive level in Classic, they have to reinvest. And people don't want to reinvest, especially the people that are complaining about Classic, because they were the people that were already like, you know, taking the free money all the time. And so, yeah, I think people are mostly upset with like exactly what Sean said. I agree. Yeah.
Are you talking about like reinvesting in terms of putting more money in the platform, or like taking a loss on their Classic cards?
Yeah, you can't sell them. I have got listed up right now about 200 of like the cards that I bought for either cap modes or just for, you know, specific comps that weren't great cards or whatever. Some of them for like £1 and stuff, and nobody's buying them. Nobody, like rares as well. Like nobody's buying them. I've got the notification on Sorare right now of like 47, which means that this was obviously the time last week when I was listing everything up, and now none of it's gone. And I was like under the floor price or at just like the minimum possible purchase price completely. and nobody's buying them. Which means if you've got, even if your gallery valuation is, let's say, £300 or £400, it's probably a tenth of that realistically. And so you just can't actually do anything with that. So you have to reinvest, and people don't want to reinvest, especially after they've been burnt a few times. If they've been here for a long time, or even if they've been here one time and got burnt, it just gives that kind of like, oh, well, this platform shit. Like, you know, I put in a grand and now it's worth $100 at most. I can't win anything with what I've got. I'm not doing that again. I'll just go back to FPL. And that, for me, that is actually a big problem from Sorare, that they've done well to just brush under the carpet and let other people take the flak for, content creators or, you know, people that are on social media and stuff, like, are just taking all the heat of like, yeah, this is what I did. And we're here fighting their corner saying, no, but what they've got now is actually really good. And they're going, yeah, nice. Everyone's, you know, our dirty work's been done for us. And I really feel like they should have done a better job of like, I know from a legal standpoint, it's probably very difficult for them, but just to be like, we're sorry, like, we get it, but we had to make these changes for the future of the platform. That alone would be enough for a lot of people to be like, yeah, do you know what? I'll go again.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that much more. I think that there's a couple things in regards to that. I think you have to just, what you spent before the last like 6 months, just like it that doesn't exist anymore. Like, yes, I'm not saying, look, I lost a shitload too. It's not like that I wasn't one. Nep, I'm sure lost a shitload too. Laird lost a shitload. Like, we all lost lots as well. The key here is that, like, if you look at things now from a season by season perspective, it really makes sense. The gameplay really makes a lot of sense. The game makes a lot of sense. If you look at classic cards, I still think they make sense. I can still sell classic cards, maybe not the total turd bags for like 25 cents, but like, I mean, just looking at my stuff right now, like, I mean, I'll go over to Sorare real quick. Because I've had this same guy like offered like 8,000 times. I literally don't even know what he's on, but I just don't care enough to look. So, like, I think that there's still people that you can sell, and it's not that difficult to sell someone. I have gotten, I guess it's not a classic card, but I've gotten offers for a lot of random cards like Cade Cow. I've gotten offers for him. You're in Timber Limited. I got offer for him. I got offers for a bunch of cards. The issue is like total shit bags, you're just going to have difficulty moving. Now, that also said, I understand the frustration from people as well. I don't want to fully brush that under the rug. I understand why people are hesitant, why people are annoyed. The way things went wasn't quite very great for anybody. Like, if you've been on the platform, you just got punished hard, and that's not good. Now, what I think could happen and what I think they can do is give these cards some value. The idea last year and over the last year that we've sort of talked about is like, those shitbag cards were getting too much value. They shouldn't be able to take $50 out a week in value because they're just kind of shitbag cards, but they should get like $10 out here and there. So I think the key is that Sorare has these specials that reward them. So like, I know we have an underdog upcoming. We had specialists. Now the key is like, they have to do them in like normalized weeks, not like an international game week type of thing. But Sorare up till now has not shown the ability to give them any value right now compared to what they previously had. I think if we get to a point where Sorare is giving them maybe 10, maybe 20% of the value they had before things switched over, it's still better for Sorare because the game is a lot more sustainable, a lot more logical, makes way more sense. But also, it's not fully in a situation where those people are screwed over. Like, those people are still able to get some value out. Laird, do you see someone's like spamming chat?
Yeah, I've tried to shut it down on Twitter. I can figure it out how. It's not like showing up anywhere.
Gotcha.
So I think the problem is, like, we want Sorare to be focusing on ways to make our best cards more valuable, right? And so usually that runs counter to making the worst cards valuable.
So the situation for me is, I think it's expectations versus reality. I don't think trash bag cards. Okay, tier 5s maybe, tier 4s maybe a little bit as well. But the tier 3s and tier 2s that people used to be able to yield threshold from regularly, and maybe like, you know, some cap 220 like rewards and stuff, you can still use those very well. You just have to understand that your reality is you can win boxes in Division 5, Division 4, and Division 3 with those. Maybe the odd card here or there. You can't get to D2 and D1. You're not going to win top prizes, podium prizes, or top cards. But if you actually look at the points required to hit rewards, they're not obscene. 300 points in Division 4 is good enough for a box where you needed 320 in cap mode to hit a $2 thing. Now, Sean, you said earlier, rightfully so, Essence is massively undervalued. If you're hitting Essence out of this instead of $2, over time, your actual value will be higher than yielding $2 per week all the time. But because it's not pretty to win a box that gives you 3 Essence, people think that, again, that I've got nothing back for this. And it's like, yeah, wait until you craft a tier 5 and it's like Mbappe or Vinicius Jr. or something. And now tell me that you'd rather your $2 a week for these exact same cards, because you just wouldn't.
I don't even think you have to wait for or I don't think you even need to do it at the tier 5 level. Like if you even just hold to tier 1, and who was it? It was Quinny yesterday. So Quinny did a stream with Harry yesterday, and he was kind of talking about most Sorare managers, if they had the opportunity to take a ton of their tier 5 rewards and turn them into tier 1s, they would do it. That's what Essence does.
Yeah.
Like instead of taking these tier 5 cards that everyone's complaining about because they score 485 points and can't get a tier 5 and instead get Essence, like that's your path to a tier 1 instead of having to deal with the tier 5s over and over again.
Yeah, it's so Tobias just said having some kind of special, like underdog specialist for maybe every other weekend seems like a good thing. I agree. Like you can't have them during the midweeks when you have no cards. Like if they put specialists during the midweek when it's international and nobody's under 45 and you need to have 2 guys under 45. Like that makes no sense. But there's lots of like having them occasionally is good because it gives value to those cards. The big takeaway for me with Essence right now, I'm curious to see what Nep thinks, because I know I've talked to Laird about it. I think the same thing. Right now, opening boxes and getting Essence is boring as shit. You are just bored out of your mind doing it. Not saying you're not like, oh, I'm getting Essence in, but there's nothing you can win that is great. You're like getting 20 Essence is the max you can get. That's fine. Like I'm thrilled to get 20 Essence. What they need to do is in those boxes, have some jerseys in those. People love getting jerseys. I love getting jerseys. Have a jackpot of like 500 Essence. So someone gets a jackpot of 500 Essence. So maybe instead of 20% get 20 Essence, 10% get 20 Essence. And then you have like a 0.5% chance of getting 500 Essence. You have a chance of getting 400. You have a chance of getting 250. Just so like you have opportunities to like, oh my God, I just hit a star in terms of like Essence. People then, as they're opening the boxes, are super excited. So like before they put Essence in and they were just doing like 5% cards, 95% level ups, 95% of the time you're getting jack shit and you were getting a level up and that sucked. But like I was excited every week to open up my boxes because there was a possibility I would get a really good card in a box. Now it's just like, all right, I'm just going to get my Essences. That's boring. And then once I get enough, I'm going to craft. That's a little more exciting. But if they actually put a jackpot or like higher end Essence level in there, it makes it a lot more appealing for people because then you actually do have a chance every time you open a box to really hit something big and get a big time card. And you can do it at the expense of the other boxes just getting slightly less Essence. What do you think about that, Nep?
Yeah, I generally like that. They could even do like a, almost like a podium thing for the boxes. Like 3 people will get 500 Essence.
Yeah.
Now, like I don't even think you need to necessarily reduce the number of Essence otherwise given out by more than a fractal point. Like, it's not really that much more Essence in the grand scheme of things. And then also like 3 people get $100 market credits. Now all of a sudden it's like when you open, you're like, let me like if they guarantee rather than a percentage chance, if they guarantee 3 people do it, you're gonna want to open those boxes because if you get 500 Essence, you're getting a tier 1 or a star, like brilliant, and you're getting it from the division that you got the Essence from. So I don't know what if you guys know it's true or not. I don't know how Peter got his information, but we was talking about it at stream earlier. He's put it into his Medium post today that there is Prem Essence and Bundes Essence and La Liga Essence. Like that changes the way I want to play this game significantly. And if I get Prem Essence, a Prem box, and I get 500 Prem Essence, I'm getting a Prem star or tier 1. Like that's huge. The chance of that is huge. But obviously the problem they have is there's only so many cards. It's going back into that circle again. Like there's just so many cards, which means there can only be so much Essence, which means they can't just give out infinite number of Essence, which is why they need to find another mechanic that can be infinite, that doesn't influence gameplay too terribly or even at all, that people will be excited to get. And that's really hard to come by.
What do you guys think about this coming from Scosmo, that to basically take the RNG out of the Essence reward system, and that make, like, wherever you are on the leaderboard, show you exactly how much Essence you get?
I think the jackpot possibility is the exciting part. Like, if you remove that and you just like give people, I don't know, it just feels it could work. Like, I guess it could work, because like then if you're getting a guaranteed like 250 Essence or something, you're like, cool. But I think the idea is like it is less likely for people to maybe hit the top end because of the lack of card skill or the card level they have with players. Like the players they have just aren't as good. So like by doing it the way they do it, it gives you the ability to get Essence with lesser players than someone else.
Yeah, the whole like jackpot Essence though is already kind of part of the, like, we already have the jackpot element. James says it here, but that's what you get from the craft, the jackpot element of pulling those lower tiers. So it's like, not that we don't have it, it's just kind of delayed, I guess, because you're not like opening, like the box itself is not the jackpot. It's like once you've taken the Essence and then you craft, and that's when the jackpot is a possibility.
Yeah, it comes in for me. One of the biggest issues with Sorare since day one, and that still exists today, is everything just takes too long. I just want more Essence, and I want it now. I want ways to get it. Like, I know you can get it from rivals, and it's like, but it's only limited, and it's like, 1 or 3, and that's pain. I just want more, and I want ways to get more now. This is why FIFA and people have like related what they're doing with in-season now to FIFA a lot, which is smart, and it does make sense. But the reason why FIFA makes so much money is because you can always go back to the store and buy a pack to get that card all the time. Whereas with Sorare, you have to wait, and you have to be in the reward pool, and that's a problem for a lot of the people that Sorare probably would profit the most off of, which is the people that get addicted to it, or people that just have a huge like budget to be able to spend on these kind of activities, where they might be sitting there now being like, well, I've already entered every 20. If the fact that Sean's saying he sold in-season Vinny J with a gallery of his size because he couldn't afford to put the pieces around him, there aren't a lot of people that can just afford to put in tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, but there are a lot of people that can afford to continually spend $10 or $20 or $30. But once you've already filled up your teams of limited teams and stuff, you can't go to the next level, but you still have that $10 a week that you can put into the platform. How can they like utilize those people? What can they do for somebody to spend money on, like spend that $10 on something that isn't a card, basically? If they could introduce something similar to that, I think it would like transform the platform. Not necessarily for the better either, because FIFA, as good as the game can be, it's addicting. It ruins some people's lives. Not everybody. I think there's sometimes it's maybe overblown how bad the problem people are on there. Yeah, okay, there are problem gamblers and people do spend on there, but there's a lot of people that spend responsibly and enjoy their entertainment value from that. And I think Sorare are missing that. The people that, like me right now, I love Sorare so much. I'd like the next card that I want, or the next card that I need, is going to be like probably an £800 Lamine Yamal. I'm not dumping £800 in, but if there was something that I could pick up for like 20 quid that would just give me that little endorphin rush, I probably would.
What about Cameron's idea here that you could buy Lamine Yamal in 3 installments?
Yeah, let me put it on layaway. That'd be all right, wouldn't it?
I always have an issue when people like blow things out with like gambling addictions and stuff like that. It's like, look, someone that has a gambling addiction is going to find a way to utilize it anyways. Like, they're going to utilize it. I don't know. Like, it's just, as someone who's been in the gambling industry for like over a decade, you're going to have people that are not good with their money. You're going to have people that are fine with their money and responsible. Like, it's always going to be people on all sides of the thing. It's the same as any walk of life, right? Like, you're just going to have people on different ends of the spectrum. It's just going to be that way regardless.
What do you think of this idea from Counter-Strike that said another cool thing they do that I didn't see anyone talking about is adding small quantities of higher scarcity essence? Give me a chance in limited to earn 3 rare essence.
I'm fine with it. Like, I mean, I think you could take small amounts of rare essence or like super essence or unique essence and give it elsewhere. Like, maybe not unique, but like you could give small amounts, and like I would rather get 1 rare essence than like 10 limited essence.
I think I'm more likely to win super rare essence in rare than I am in super rare at this
Probably.
point. Nep, on your show stream, or no, your video, whatever your last one was.
Probably wasn't that one, but yeah.
I watched it yesterday. So I was going to say yesterday's, but I don't think it was posted yesterday. But one thing that really struck me was how you were saying in season and classic are basically different games right now. And the constant comparison of the two is almost moot because like they are very different. And that basically if there was a competitor to Sorare that only did the equivalent of in-season competitions, that like starting today, you buy in-season cards, you know you have 1 year to use them, and next year maybe one of those classic cards can be used in season. Do you feel like because of that idea, and I completely agree with you that people would look at that game and they'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's what I want to play. That now that Sorare has implemented that, you know, we're in year 1 now, that in 4 years, that's basically what we're playing anyway.
It's possible. Like we kind of like explored and discussed the idea of Sorare Classic in 3 years or 5 years, because eventually, especially again at like limited and rare level, there will be, you know, 500, 600, 700 Mbappes, 1,000 Bellinghams, 800 Lamine Yamals when he's 21 years old. Like
those are rares that we're talking about.
Rares, yeah. And so how do you then differentiate between the scorers when everyone, even if we just take a Division 1, when everybody is picking from the same pool of like 10 players, how do you separate? Everyone's going to have 20% level 20 as well because so much time has passed. Maybe collection bonus will be a very small differentiator, but it won't be enough. How do you differentiate it? People think SO7. I don't think SO7 or SO9 or more works, but I think tactics could certainly work for Classic to keep things different, but tactics applied per player rather than per team the way it is in Rivals now. So you choose for each individual player, you set your tactic. If you hit your tactic, it creates more points, but not a points value that's like captain bonus where it's like 50 points or whatever, or 50%, but just like 10 points. If you hit your bonus, this player gets 10 extra points, and then you can apply the percentages on after that. But even that will get to a point where it's kind of like there is a meta for it. You know, okay, I'm putting Mbappe and I'm putting the 3 shots on target on. I'm putting De Bruyne in, I'm putting the 50 passes on. And again, it's like we're just going to get into a world where it's going to be very, very, very difficult. I don't think it's here for another 3-5 years yet, but I think we're going to get into a world where it's just going to be very difficult for anybody that doesn't have the elite 10 or 15 or 20 players. And I also think there's just going to be so many of them that everyone's going to have them. And again, there's only so many rewards that they can give out after that. So I don't know where they go with Classic going forwards. Like it's quite funny because I think we are in probably the best Classic situation we've ever been in, but it's going to spiral out of control negatively very, very quickly.
Yay.
And I don't know how that. I genuinely don't know how you rectify it. They might just delete it. They might just be like, look, you can use your classics in season. We'll have some specials, you know, here and there that you can use your classic cards in, which would then, you know, not cap modes, but like specialists, or like, you know, having one card from L15 30 to 40, one from 40 to 50 or whatever, to give utility to all sorts of players rather than just your smashers, like maybe that sort of thing. But again, if they're having to do that just to give utility to cards outside of the best sort of 15 or 20 players on the platform, I think we're already too far gone.
I think it also just comes down to more rewards that are not cards.
Yeah, but are also not things that. Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? Like, why are you playing so rare for the cards? Like, or now for the essence, for the, you know, who was genuinely logging in Sorare trying to get some So coins? Who actually wants a shirt from Sorare? Like,
I saw someone tweet about So coins. I think it was where's Risu? I think he tweeted about it. He was like, I just want Sorare to announce like what they're doing with So coin. I'm like, they have announced it. They're not doing shit. That's the announcement is they're not doing shit. They don't care.
We can't even win them anymore, right?
I have absolutely no idea.
Maybe not. I don't think I won like a few hundred the other week. Maybe
I literally couldn't tell you. I don't know, and I have no idea. I have over 1 million.
The only time I think about it is because baseball still gives coins, even though there's no marketplace for baseball either. And then I'm like, oh yeah, coins. Huh, How about that? And they still on their old system, so I have like terrible lineups, and I win like 2,000 coins, and it's just like, oh, okay, great.
What they do with the club, everything was just really weird. They're like, we're gonna do a club shot, and then they just like, we don't know what the fuck to do. Why did we say we're gonna do this? And then they just sat on it. It was so weird.
Dan said, "So coins are the future of finance." So,
well, that's good. I'm rich then.
Yeah, that's right. In baseball, they can be used for boosts.
I mean, they can still be used for shit today. Like you can still use them for boosts and training lineups, but like,
yep.
I don't care enough to like do extra training lineups.
That's why you're bad at the game. You would have had 2 Vinicius Juniors by now if you did.
But instead, I have more time on my hands. And I'll tell you what, you know why I didn't buy more training lineups ever? Because I did not want to spend another 10 minutes entering training lineups on Sorare after I was done building lineups.
So now that the button is here, you have all this extra time you can train.
Yeah, no,
So now he's got double time though.
Yeah, but okay, so now the issue is building training lineups and Sorare data is a little bit funky because like no game players don't show, and it's just a little bit more tricky. I'm not saying it's not doable. I just don't give enough of a shit to go do it.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I don't train in other sports anyway. So I was going to ask this question later, but I have it in my head right now, so I'll do it. Classic is great. If somebody new comes to the game and says, "What should I do on Sorare?" do you tell them to play Classic?
No. If someone new coming in, I would tell them to play in season and then work their way to Classic eventually. But I wouldn't come in and play Classic. I would come in and play in season. I wouldn't do anything else right now if I was coming in.
I think it depends on your budget.
That's fair.
How much of a difference? Meaning, like, because I don't feel like the prices are that drastically different at this point.
I suppose it depends. That's why it depends on your budget. Like we looked at a team that would score extremely well for Champ Europe today in limited Classic. That was like £140 for like all of the players, and it was probably like maybe £210 in season, maybe a bit more, maybe 230 in season. And so it's like that's almost double the budget, even though there's not actually that much discrepancy between each player. It only takes one player, you know, like. There are some players where the line on Sorare data is almost the same for the Classic in season. But then there are some players where the lines are so significantly different. And again, if you want to win, like genuinely want to win and actually like perform well, you can't, like if you've got a team full of those guys that have almost negligible difference, there's a reason why. And it's because they're not in demand, they're not popular, and they're not going to serve you well from a SO5 standpoint. I think Classic can be Here's my play right now, right? Especially after talking to Peter today a little bit and reading his blog post. And again, I don't know how he knows. He seems very confident. I don't know if you guys know, but if there is, say, for example, Premier League Essence and the Special Weeklies Essence is global, right? Mm-hmm. What I would suggest to people to do right now is to play target Special Weeklies using contender cards. Don't play them in contender. You don't want that contender shit. You don't want that essence. Go and play Premier League with a team that's good enough to get you one Premier League essence at whatever price that costs, and then go and play Special Weeklies, buying the best piece of shit cheap cards that are there. You know, you can get like Gustavo, who regularly hits 70, 80 points, who's a AAA in contender, is like £12. You're not going to get a Haaland for £12, but his global essence with your one Premier League essence has the same value, right? So now I'd go and try and get the cheapest Premier League lineup I can just to get some essence there. Then just play Special Weeklies and craft Premier League cards. That's how I think. Like, if I was new right now, I'd definitely target Special Weeklies. The cash is good, the cards are good, and you can use players from any region.
That, to be fair, that's really good. The issue is I think that's probably too high of a level for someone just coming in.
Potentially so, yeah.
Well, it's a really good and logical plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Special Weeklies, though, that pay cash generally are in-season, like they require in-season cards, right?
It's been different for everything, so I don't think you can like say a specific.
I can't think of a single special that required mostly classic cards that paid cash.
No, you don't want cash. You want essence.
You want essence.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like Fighter Special this week, I think, is giving essence at the rare and limited level.
So yeah, they have the boxes and software, which is
so in Nep's comments. Well, I mean, I guess it's different because it's obviously international, but like in his view, like you get one essence at Premier League, and then you go and buy all these studs and run them in these specials, and then collect. Yeah. So what do you do then, Nep? Like, I guess you could just sell them, but
yeah,
like,
you said it,
yeah. Okay. So you just use it for that week and then sell it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if you've got smashers, like especially like not for international, but like now that the Chinese league, for example, is back. Like I say, Gustavo, like he doesn't always score like every time. But he is literally like contender Haaland, right? He's 70, 80, 90, 100 points very regularly. He's 35 points every now and then. But if you've got him and a few other contender smashers in, and 3 lineups, no less, in like the tacklers event from last week, I literally pulled Haaland because I had 3 Premier League essence and got 48 essence from tacklers. And so if it is Premier League rather than Champ, I either got crazy lucky out of Champ, or if it is Premier League, I got Haaland because of my tacklers results. Now, when it comes to tacklers, obviously, it kind of makes sense in the first place to just have good players, because then any extra tackles and interceptions just further amplify their scores. But you can go and isolate some guys from contender. Quite a lot of these J-League and K-League guys get loads of tackles and loads of interceptions just because of the way it's scored. So you can go and put those guys into this tournament, just pool it with your one average Premier League team, and all of a sudden you're crafting a tier 4 or tier 3 plus, and it makes a huge difference, and I think is a really good way, especially maybe it is a bit complex for like a new user, but I think for low budget users that have got experience, it's a really good way to kind of like get a large ROI over a reasonably short amount of time.
So the issue I have, to go back to your classic is cheaper, is there is a certain Sorare content creator who espouses the importance of collection bonuses, and buying collection, like getting enough of a collection bonus on classic cards is really tough.
Nah, I don't think so. I do, like, I don't. You might even have the numbers more like in the like Sorare data back end or whatever. But every time I'm looking, because this whole thing of like, oh, you need 15% on cards. Cards have a lot of cards have a high percentage, but to get 3% get 3% collection bonus, I think is not unreasonable whatsoever. It's like, what is it? It's like 250 points. On anything. Even because you might have to wait the 90 days, so a bit of pre-planning is going to have to come into play. But like, you can get, once you've got your few players that you want anyway, you can just buy enough players. What is it going to be, like 13 players in total? There are because classic for tier 4s, tier 5s is genuinely dead. You can get, like I say, you can get these cards for like $1. Like Hoodwink was saying earlier, he bought off of me a jersey mint and a one-of for £1 each for his debut collection, because I can't give them away. And whatever collection you've got, so long as you're like wanting just 3% after 90 days, I think it's going to be extremely affordable to get there. So long as you're also buying cards that have already got decent level, and then make sure you target purchasing cards that do not have level up supplied already, because they're going to come in really handy for you, like really quick. As long as you're training your cards, which even though Sean hasn't done, I think is genuinely valuable. And I think there's going to become a tipping point this season where like my in-season quality cards, the Saka, the Bruno Fernandes, the Trents, I'm going to be like number 1 there, because I've been training them hard in like sensible lineups, and I've got a point in time where I'm going to apply the level ups to the point where I'll just be number 1. Unless you've got 5% collection bonus, like you can afford to get that. And then when I was looking at leaderboards anyway, so many people behave like Sean behaves with training and collection bonus, and they don't take it seriously. And so you don't need to take it that seriously to gain an edge from it.
Okay, I trained my 3 lineups. I trained my 3 lineups. I just didn't buy more. Yeah, collection bonus. Everyone always bitches about me saying collection bonuses don't matter. They do matter. They just also don't matter as much as some people think.
I think that's still very counter to what Nep says. Sorry, I was like smirking before because the idea that you're training your JPEGs hard. Like, I train them hard every week.
Yep.
It just like, it does matter, but it's like, what matters more? Scoring the most points. If you don't score the most points, it doesn't matter as much anyway.
So like Nep, and I would, I was like, Nep's counter to that, as if Nep's not here. But Nep's counter to that is if you have the same cards, and in limited, where we see that a lot, people running like stacks, scoring the most points is actually not enough anymore, because you need to score the most points, like the most raw points, and have the highest collection.
Yeah, I just don't care that much about limiteds.
Yeah.
And definitely a super rare and such. Yeah, it's not as valuable whatsoever.
Rare matters, but like, again, we talked about this before too. Layers, like everyone's like, oh my god, you got to collect to get to 5%. I get to 2% just by like default. Like you get to 2% pretty easily. It's those extra 3%, and like again, then you have to weigh like, all right, I spent $500 on buying these cards for a collection. Well, would that have $500 gone further for me buying another goalie or another expert? Like,
I think you're grossly overestimating how much it costs to surround good players with collection pieces.
Not at the super rare and rare level. Again, like I said,
at the rare level, super rare. I will concede that collections mean nothing for super rare.
So how much would it cost me at the rare level, since you maybe have looked at this, to go surround Mbappe Real Madrid card this year with the collection bonus?
But it's not just Mbappe. Like there are other cards in that collection that you're going to want to play anyway.
Okay, let me pick a different Bruno Fernandes, where like everyone else sort of on Man U sucks.
So are you talking about like a classic Bruno? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Like let's say I want a classic Bruno. How much is it going to cost me to buy a collection to go from 12 to like how much is it going to cost me in the rare level to go from 12 to 15% on Bruno?
Yeah, see, 15% I think is like it's probably unobtainable. Like the cards that you would need, the specials, the jersey mints, the one
because it's classic.
Yeah, because it's classic. They're like it won't be. I don't think it'll be possible without overspending, like to the point where you're better off just buying in season.
Yeah. Okay. So 4%. 4%.
I also do think 4% is probably just unreasonably expensive, because you're like there's so many cards that are like anomaly cards, only had a few mints, or that are just so good and rare that they're like so expensive. I think 3%, if you can't buy from in season to become classic, I think 3% is a really good like target to hit, because everybody's in the same boat where they can't go backwards and get these cards. So going forwards, you can do
it. And I guess that makes sense, because then like realistically, like only one person is going to have 5% on that level.
Yeah.
So again, though, but from that perspective, like it just devalues the collection in terms of its important level to me. If it's not from 2 to 5, it's only 2 to 3. I'm only sacrificing like 1% on the card for a week per. Like it's not the end of the world to just not have the collection, even if it's cheap. Like let's say it cost me $100. Is that reasonable? Like $100 to go buy enough to get to 3% on Bruno?
I think there's way more than you'd need to spend
at a rare level.
Yeah.
Okay, so $50.
Yeah, so probably somewhere like that.
So like, is $50 worth it for me to gain, let's say, 1 point a week? Not even like, let's say like, well, I guess because it only really matters if you have a really good week. So like, let's say like 1 point. Is it worth 1 point 5 times a year to go spend that $50 there? Or is that $50 better used elsewhere? Or does it just like not really matter? And it just
here's what I say. Let me ask you, how many times have you been 1 point away or less from a significantly better reward? If it's even one time, then that 1% matters.
Yes, but like
that's Sean Classic. It matters when it matters.
It matters when it matters, and like it doesn't matter when it doesn't matter. So which is true. I don't know. Like it's definitely possible, but also at the same time, it's like.
So my counter to all of this is that it's way more important for in season, because when they become classic, and if you are already at 5%, everyone else is trying to catch up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I have so many 5% collections.
Right. No, I don't like. I get it. Because you're going into classic next season, and every season after that with a ton of cards that theoretically are close to 15%.
Yeah.
When everybody else is at 12 and 13.
Yeah. So like and honestly, like again, like it matters more to me at like the super level, where obviously it's a bit more expensive, because like the difference in super rare, that 1 point could be a tier 0 to a tier 1 could be like a pretty significant drop off. Rare level, it's not going to be as significant a drop off a lot of the time, obviously, unless the podium is in play, because like otherwise you typically the card, there's enough of them that you're not going to drop off that drastically a lot of the time. But yeah, so like, I mean, I don't think collections are terrible, and I definitely think if you can get them, they make a lot of sense. What I will say is I don't think collections matter that much in terms of, I think what a lot of people do in collections don't matter. I think getting your collections of your most important and most valuable cards to a higher level is important. I think you getting your random like Burnley card from 3% or from 2% to 3%, that just doesn't matter. Granted, it's cheap, so like if you want to do it, go for it.
No, I agree. I agree with that, like, completely. I was just looking at like some of the leaderboards that are here now, and like, so Jimmer is in classic rare D1, 1.3 points in the podium space. And I don't think it's necessarily collections that has achieved him that, but it is definitely like the overall XP. So he's got like, his guys are on like 12%, 12%, 10.5%, 9%, and 5%. And it's like, if the guy behind him that's finished like below has got 6%, 6%, 8%, 11%, and 10%. So it's like all of a sudden, literally 1% more on those cards, and he's on podium. And the podium difference is they're both tier 2s, but it's £54. So if it does only cost him £20 or £30 to get that 1%, this is one of those times when it matters, and it only has to matter once with how cheap rare cards are now. Only has to matter once. And there are an insane amount of times that I've had lineups within a point or two where I'm like, man, if I just had, and it's not just collections though. Like I think the overall, like, playing the game, like I really think training is important, and I really think getting XP on your players as quick as possible and using the level ups at an appropriate time is really important, because other people don't treat it like that. So on that week where you need the differential, if you don't have it, you'll be livid.
The funny thing is that you use Jimmer as an example, and he might be one of the more lazy people out there in regard stuff. Also, he won U23 rare twice in a row at the level. So, but the issue is, again, all right, so you just talked about like it's cheap to make it happen, but because it's cheap to make it happen, it means also other rares are cheap. So you spending that $40, $50 to get that collection, which would be impactful here, no arguments. It would help him get that $50. But maybe that cost him a goalie that it could have prevented him from getting a lineup out every week for the amount of time that it costs. So like there are opportunity costs on both sides of the equation. And I think there is obviously, Jimmer isn't lazy with training. That I would believe. Jimmer's lazy with other stuff, but he maybe trains well. So anyways, like the real answer to the equation is Nep is on team like go get collection bonuses to the max, and I'm on like it doesn't matter. The real answer in terms of where the proper answer is somewhere in the middle of those two, and that's the accurate answer.
So I think the issue is that both things tend to address the current situation as opposed to like what's happening further on. And so like Scosmo was like, just pick better players. And the problem is that with how many cards are being added every single season, there are going to be more lineups and more people playing optimal lineups. And there's going to be a point where you have the 5 best scoring players. And if you don't have the 5 best scoring cards, you're out. Like you cannot win. And we're getting like, there are going to be so many cards, certainly at the limited level, and we're going to see it at the rare level, where it doesn't matter if you have the best players, you need the best cards. And that's a difference that is separated by training and collection bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But you also have time, like if you're doing it at a classic level, like you have time to get to that point over the next X years.
You do, but also by the time that comes, like the card that you know, the cards that you have, I can't look past how classic is going to be in 2 or 3 years, to the point where I don't even know if like, I don't know if anything matters. Everybody's just going to have, or not everybody's going to have such good cards. There's just going to be so many good cards available. Like how expensive realistically is Mbappe going to be in 3 years when there's 300 or 3,000 more of him? Like in season, yeah, he'll probably still be a real premium price, so long as the prize pools are as premium. Like in theory, the player prices now should stay stable every year going forward, so long as the prize pools stay stable every year going forward, right? Like it's just what happens the next year or years, and how, like, I just don't know. I don't understand how. So I literally can't figure it out, and it bothers me that I don't have like this would be a really good idea. There's just nothing that I can think of where I think that not only makes sense for the platform and for the consumer, but isn't like just like you know when we used to do Sorare Mega and they had the boots and the shirts and the thing, like right. Nobody wants that shit. Yeah, so do I. Yeah.
I played Sorare Mega every single game week until they added that stuff, and I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. That's too stupid.
Yeah, because ultimately people want fantasy, and I think I don't know. Sorare's best avenue would probably be trying to actually give value to having classic cards for in-season purposes, and like right now, everybody's in-season lineup has a classic card, so it's like if they continue to build on in-season having a classic Saka, all of a sudden now I can have 3 Sakas in 3 Premier League lineups. Now I have value for having Saka. That might sustain their price maybe for another year or two, because you can play, Sakas in Premier League in season and in Champion in season. All of a sudden I can now use 6 Bukayo Sakas. Like, that's cool. That gives value to him, but it just kicks the can down the road. I don't know. I don't know how they're like. For me personally, I'm trying to yield as much off of Classic as quick as possible because I feel like it's going to collapse.
So Josh brought up this. He just said, could Classic cards have a timer so after a couple of years they become totally unusable in comps to help limit the number of cards? I think if Sorare could do the whole platform over again, they would give you you get X amount of uses on a card, and every card gets 50 uses. Once that card has used 50 uses, it moves into your dead, not like dead card, but it moves into your collection and you just can't use it anymore. It's just there, but it's non-usable card anymore. Because that would have done it. They can't do it now because everyone would just be like, what the fuck? I've spent so much money over the years doing it. There's no way that makes any sense.
So 2 things. One, in response to that, I actually completely disagree. I think if Sorare were starting today, they would be in season only. Season ends, all of your cards are nothing. And everyone's all of these, there are other platforms that do that and you have to restart every year. And they're those companies make hundreds of millions of dollars and are perfectly fine.
And I don't think this is one of, I wouldn't play. I would never have came on to Sorare if that was the way. I would not have played. I think a lot of people would have had to say that's why DraftKings Rainmakers shut down. Well, no, that and why they weren't.
That's not why. KB said also this, but our sons, Brunos, KDBs, and so on won't be the good guys they are now, and a lot changes in real life in 2 to 3 years. I think there is going to be a natural reduction of our current stars, and obviously they're replaced by new ones. But they're not. There's the same top 100 players are not the same every year, let alone every 4 or 5 years.
In 2 to 3 years, we're going to be at a point where I don't think the game changes anymore after that. It's where it's 2 to 3 years in, because you just are going to go through cycles where players phase out, new players come in. Obviously, you're going to have the super outlier players like Mbappe, who starts at 18, 19 as a pretty elite player and lasts longer. But in theory, after the next couple of years, you're going to have 5, 6 seasons worth of cards. People are going to phase out, new guys come in, new guys become good, old guys that were good become bad, and you're going to have that cycle that works. So I think in a couple of years, everything just sort of will be stable from that point going forward, because you have enough of a market that it's this is what happened to those cards.
Ben also points out one that we've been missing, that we're all going to be millionaires in 2 to 3 years anyway. So
Nep was a millionaire a decade ago.
And then he joined Sorare, and now he's not.
Now he's trying to get back to that point, baby.
He's just one of us now.
Yep.
What do you think about this one? Can't compare Sorare to FIFA, where you rebuild every year, because FIFA already had a base before Foot. Sorare, I don't know if it could have been built from that from day one.
Here's the thing. I think I actually said this to you many moons ago, Laird, about how one of the things that I'm concerned about with Sorare is just how pioneers generally are, and it's usually the first is never the best, because other platforms will be damn, we see how they're doing it, we can eradicate their mistakes, make a better product. Would Sorare be better to just make another product, call it, I don't know, So Scarce, and then just do it the way they want to do it now, and just oh no guys, Sorare went bust, but hey, So Scarce exists. Look at all this, and do it the way they want to do it. But because talking, I don't necessarily know if a usage per card is the the overall answer, I think it would be fun, and it could certainly create a bit of strategy with how you use, who you use, and when. But I think ultimately, if Sorare want to expand to the masses, it wouldn't be the way to go. But I honestly think, like with now, like, you know, I've written off probably about £100,000 from what I've spent on Sorare prior to now, based on this change, and just had to be like, yeah, that fucking sucks, but that's worthless now. Yeah, I'm still playing Sorare because I actually believe what they've got now has longevity and an ability to have me enjoying the platform and profiting off it long term. If they introduce something where I genuinely believed that at the cost of everything else, it was for the better of the future of the platform, I don't think people would be upset, because they've almost just done that and everyone's still here. Well, people that didn't farm and Threshold have gone, but they're okay to go. Like, they were just sucking on, like, leeching off the site. That's all right. Like,
the leeches could go. No, I mean, I think here I'm with you. Like, I mean, at one point my gallery was worth like $3 or $4 million. I could have sold it for that, and I didn't, and I still haven't. And I actually am enjoying the game way more than I was a year ago. My gallery was probably worth like 3 times what it was. Like, I really like the gameplay right now. I really like Sorare right now, which is similar to what Nep says. I think what you said actually makes a lot of sense. Here's the issue. Sorare's biggest issue was also its biggest benefit for how it got boomed. It isn't an NFT, or it's not a crypto company. Like, it being attached to crypto, all the crypto bros were like, this sucks. My money is like, when crypto goes up, I lose money. And all the people that like really like the product as like a soccer fantasy game are like, I don't really care about crypto. But because you attach crypto to it, like, a lot more people are like, I'm not coming in because I don't like crypto. So like, I think it being attached to crypto was like sort of what killed it to some extent of that. I think if they could do it over, they just would do it on a non-crypto base and would have it that way. But also, like, another issue, and this, again, there's nothing you can do about this, it got way too big, way too fast. They weren't ready to capitalize on it. They tried to catch up and go with it as best as they could. And I just don't think they probably hired the best people for the situation, and they couldn't do it. Like, it went from like, this company went from like a $10 million small company to like $4 billion in like 6 months. And that was difficult to keep up to it. And like, if you look at Sorare today, like, they probably generate like $50 million a year. Does that sound reasonable? I mean, I don't have
in that ballpark, I think.
Yeah. So like, they generate, that's a pretty damn good business. The issue is when you're valued at $4.4 billion, that's not a good business. That's a shit business. But like, they're in a position where like, I think it's pretty stable right now. And I think you could have this continue to grow slowly and organically. The issue was it went from like 10 to like 4 billion. And that just, it couldn't keep up with that sort of thing. And nothing did. Like, everything in the crypto bull run went like nuts. And then everything fell off. A lot of stuff collapsed. That's just how it went. I think if Sorare was a little bit like more organically grown and slower, it would have made a lot more sense longer term.
Yeah, I think the Gary V boom probably ended up being more detrimental than helpful.
Yes.
But also without it, Sorare probably wouldn't exist at all.
Right.
Maybe like,
maybe it got too big. If it just stayed at like, if they didn't evaluate it at like 4.4 and they just like, hey, this is a really good product, let's see what we can do. Because like, I really think you could do it like all right, hey, we are going to give away $50 million in prizes this year. As we make $65 million, we're going to pay our staff $5 million. The company is going to profit effectively $10 million. That's a great company. And people would do it. Like, yes, some people are going to lose. That's how it should work. Some people are going to win. That's how it should work. And I think that there's a lot of merit into that. And I think that's where they're at now. They just like have the long-term players that are just so negative. Like, I've over the last couple months have just gotten so bored with seeing everyone bitch and moan and stuff. Like, I used to bitch and moan, but like, my bitching and moaning was just like bitching and moaning about like the prize pools being dog shit mostly, which that was but like, my bitching and moaning was like never, oh, this company is just dog shit. I hate the product now. I'm gonna sell off. Then just sell off. Like just sell off. Like you just or like I need the money. I've lost too much money. Okay, yeah, sell off. Like no arguments. Like you got fucked. Like or you bought in at a bad time and it went down. Like I can't. I feel terrible for those people, but at the same time, I can't do anything about it. And like if you're still on it, like play or there's just so much negativity around it. And like it's just like it's like oh my god, just chill. And like for me to think that's like crazy. Like again, Laird, we talked about it, like over the last 6 months, I'm easily the most positive person you talk to probably on a regular basis, which has never been the case ever.
You've been positive. I wouldn't go so far as
okay, but yeah, but like I've been very positive over the last like where they've gone. I would say the last 6-9 months, I've been very positive at all times.
Yeah, you've absolutely seen more positives in the game.
Yeah. Yes, Malky said I'm fed up of the moaning and the brainstorming. 100% agree. I cannot. The moaning is just like the brainstorming. I don't mind because the brainstorming, like, there's always going to be ways to improve something. That's just how everything works in life. Is like, okay, hey, this is a better way of doing something. That that's cool. I have no issues with the brainstorming. I just like I can't deal with the moaning on a daily. Like, oh, I can't win anymore. I suck. All right, this platform blows. Like, oh my god.
No. Nobody says I can't win anymore. I suck.
Yeah,
it is absolutely not their fault.
The site sucks. Oh my god. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I think the Mulkey like brainstorming thing reminded me of a comment that Nanzo made. I think it was last Thursday, about how he feels it's weird how many people talk about ways that Sorare could make money or like worry about Sorare's profitability and all that stuff. And it's not like we're sitting here thinking, how can Sorare make more money? It's more of a response to everybody's idea of, oh, they should just bring threshold back and have every time your players gets on the field, you win $100. And we're like, so there's a reason that doesn't work. And everyone's like, no, just do it. And it's like, that's why we have to have these conversations, because there's so many people with these great ideas, or they think they're great ideas. And you have to explain to them like why those ideas don't work.
No, I mean, we've seen people that produce content that they just say stuff. And it's like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever said. And then they say something again. It's like, wow, that's even worse.
Which video did I put that in?
No comment. But...
Go subscribe to Sorare. What was it? Oh no, it wasn't NFT.com or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting where it is right now, because if it stays the same and like, you know, when it becomes a game of winners and losers, there is a way bigger yearning for content and education and understanding. And it will be so good for Sorare as a whole. Look at FPL 3 years ago. These guys were getting 5,000 views a video, 10,000 views a video. Now they get like hundreds of thousands of views to be like, yeah, still pick Salah and Haaland. Like, right, it's the same shit. But it's like for Sorare, now that there is you have like an allotted time to yield in season, it's really important how you play and playing smart. So how do you get that information? And it, like, if the Sorare social community booms and content creators start getting more views, more people are signing up to Sorare because they're seeing these people. They're thinking, yeah, do you know what? Actually, I could do this. I might like that strategy is cool. I'm going to go and try that. And it benefits Sorare. And if it benefits Sorare, everybody wins so long as you're on the winning side. And if you're on the losing side, so long as Classic still exists, there is still a pathway to get your money back, because it's not like you spent 25 grand on Mbappe and now he's worth 500 quid. You spent $1,000 on Mbappe and now he's worth 500 quid. Like, it's a lot easier of a pill to swallow when your cards crash now compared to when, you know, the David Neres I spent £2,800 on is now literally worth like £12, even though he's scoring for Napoli in Champ Europe. It's like, he's worthless. But if you bought him for like 60 quid, you'd be like, yeah, whatever, man. Like, I'll see if I can win something back with him this season in Classic. If I can't, too bad.
In fairness, I'm pretty sure Sean would have told you like 2 or 3 years ago that was a terrible purchase.
Who?
But
David Neres for $1,200.
Neres was on Benfica. He was
good.
Thank
you very much. I've made some stinking purchases, but no, he was all right.
That was all right. That's fair.
Yeah, I don't think I would shit on that one. Like, that one makes sense to me.
That was really interesting, though, what you said, Nep, in that if there are, like the way you said it, like if the game becomes more of a game of winners and losers, then there is there becomes kind of a bigger pocket of people who are like, how do I become a winner? And they look for that help, and that helps with the content situation. And I don't think most people are prepared to accept that they're going to be losers.
That's not necessarily true, because like in DFS, like I mean, I've seen in DFS for years, people will watch loads of content from people that are losing players, and they like cannot grasp that they are losing players because they think they are winning players because they do content.
That's not what I meant. Like it was less about the more people doing content and more people looking for content to help them in a game where they could lose. Whereas it felt like for a long time, Sorare, the reason why people were coming to Sorare is because you could not lose.
Yeah,
you buy these shit cards you've never heard of, so you could get your $50 a week, and then the game became harder. And so like now we're kind of introducing this losing aspect of it. And
so I did I'll post the results of it in the middle of the week after the game week's over. On my Discord, I asked people, like, it's something I've wanted to do for ages. It's like a theoretical, but like I said, if you had unlimited budget, what lineups would you run this week? As soon as they start posting their lineups, I'm like, this is why you're not winning. Like you've got unlimited budget, and you're just putting the players that you've already got in your gallery in. like I don't think I looked at one lineup that is currently in a position where it would win like a top reward, let alone a podium. And that's people having the ability to have any card on the platform. And do you know why? A couple of them had Mbappe. Mbappe stunk the place out. He got 50 points. Right? Gyökeres got 93 points.
Well, Mbappe has another game, sir.
He does. And I hope he smashes, because if he does, I can win a big prize. But it's true. And it's one of those things where like one of the hardest things for Sorare, for Sorare content creators, is that like theory crafting doesn't really exist, and there's no way to really do it. Like Sorare Data is obviously an incredible platform to help with it, but it's really hard to like list like, here's 5 teams that I would pick if I had, if I've got the players or whatever. Here's 5 teams I would just pick, and then to look back at that team and just see how they did, almost track the points that they are getting over the game. We could be like, oh my god, guys, if I actually spent the money on these 5 teams, it would have been horrific because they did terrible. Let's isolate where the problems were. Let's figure out why it went bad, how we can make it better next time around. All of a sudden, it's like, I'm interested in that. And I'll be the one making the content, or like hopefully somebody else will make the content as well, because like the Road to Glories are great. And it's a good way to show people that either with no budget or real little budget, you can have fun on this game and churn constantly and still get new cards and stuff. But I want to be like, what do I need to do to like win? Like, what is the status quo? And if it's like, right, you got to go in, you got to buy these 5 or 5 classic cards, get 3% bonus on them, and then after 2 months time, this is how you'll get your churn. This is how you get your return on investment. To actually be able to like show that would be great, but it's so difficult on Sorare because the game weeks come and go. Like I can't like be like, nobody cares in 2 weeks time about the 2 weeks of points that they didn't get because they watched the video late. So it's like, how do you constantly be like, okay, for the next 4 weeks, here's like a strategy that I would run. Oh, I've joined this 2 weeks in. Like, this is dead to me. I'm not watching this crap. And so it's difficult, but there will become I think the Sorare like content creation scene it really needs like kind of like cultivation and like leadership from people in the community to start showing what you could do, not what they have done or how they've done it, but what you can do and how you can do it, because people will buy into that way more.
Do you think any of that content revolves around classic cards?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, I think that's my biggest pause on classic is I really struggle to see, and you said it before that like, it's obviously cheaper, but I almost feel like if you looked at the lineup that you would make for a classic, like you are buying in today, whatever your budget is, and you're saying like, these are the cards that you can get on that budget with classic cards, which are way better than the cards you can get for in-season, because the in-season cards are worth more. Are we sure that cheaper in-season cards are actually not still better than the classic cards that you're buying that are way behind on XP, way behind on collection bonuses?
There's a video. There's a theory crafting video there. I've got $150 This is what I could get in classic.
Oh, I thought you said. I thought you meant you did it. I was like, where?
No, I'm saying like
Yeah.
and that's exactly the content that we need to start seeing as a community, right? It's like, here's what you, but it's real difficult because you have to do it again. You have to do it like after the fact. You have to be like, 1 month ago, I decided that I'd have a $150 budget, and this is what would have happened had I gone down these routes. That doesn't mean diddly squat for the next month, right? Like, the player prices have changed, their utility has changed, like the points that they're scoring has changed, the reward pools and potential special weeklies have changed. Like, you just can't get that again. And so it's really hard to, it's something I've spoke to like Josh Excels about several times over the last few months, is like, how do we create this kind of like easy to consume bite-sized content? I said to you guys just before we started, like, one of the very notable things about the Sorare content community is it is almost all exclusively podcasts. People don't have time to listen to an hour or an hour 30-minute show to find that 1 or 2 minutes of information that they really want and they really need. But how do you know what that bit of information is, or how do you like condense what we've talked about here today, which has had some great bits of information in? How do you condense that into a consumable piece of content? I was asking, like, I want to know because I want to make the content, but I just I'm finding it hard to actually make the content.
I don't know. If I know, I'd be doing it. Sean would be doing it, but he's muted. So
yeah, ask ChatGPT.
I didn't have much to say on it. Like, I think there's definitely some holes to fill from the content. The issue is like, you have to have people to understand things and like be able to relay the information well, and that isn't always the case. Like, because when you have people that just don't really understand what they're doing making this content, it just ends up making bad content. But like, the problem is some people don't realize what is good content or bad content, or if someone knows exactly what they're talking about or someone doesn't know what they're talking about. Because like, here's the thing, Sorare is a very complex game and very difficult, and there's always new things to learn and new paths to go down. And I think like a lot of people struggle to do that, and get stuck in whatever way they were in before, and then just go down that path. And it's, or like they're like, hey, go down this path, and this path is like, watch out, certain death, and it's like, we're going down this path, baby, we're going, and it's just like, just walk right down. So it's difficult. Like, yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Now, how much theory crafting do you do ignoring collection bonus?
Yeah, quite a lot. Like, I see MDG's comment there, and I presume he's alluding to the fact that you can't buy classic because final cards have like 10% bonus, and like those cards are really expensive on the market, so you have to buy like a cheaper one. Like, there are a lot of people that are like meticulous with getting their XP, getting their collection bonus and stuff, but not nearly enough to the point where you've missed the boat. I think if you start focusing right now on collection bonus, for me, like, I've kind of like drawn a line as to what I like to see as XP on a card these days. And in limited, I do think you need to be looking at 12% or more, so that when you hit, you're going to be the top guy. And for rare, I think 10% or more is a really good place to be. Now, the fact that you can get 5% of that from collection bonus, and you can get up to as high as 15%, I don't think 10% is like unreasonable to achieve in a reasonably short amount of time. Even if you're like, but I can get 3% collection bonus for a reasonable price, I can get up to like level 8 in like 4 weeks, maybe it's 5 weeks, and then I put the level ups on. All of a sudden, you're at like 9.5, 10% anyway. That's good. It takes you 4 weeks-ish, four maybe 5 weeks to get to 9.5, 10% with 3% collection bonus. When you look at the leaderboards, it is very rare, unless somebody's full stacked, it's very rare that they have any reasonable amount of like percentages or collection bonuses on the cards. Like the top, like, and in classic, I actually think, even though I still think collection bonus is important, in classic, I think stacking is so counterintuitive now. Like, I go out of my way to try and not stack anymore, because if I stack, unless it's my Arsenal team where I think I'm like the number one guy. I know there's one guy that tweeted you that's also got the Malawi boys. I think he's also got a very, very good Arsenal collection the same year that I have. But that means we have to have the same 5, the same captain, be in the same division, in the same competition. Like, the odds of me and him actually being like, well, fuck, we both got exactly the same score is real slim. There just aren't many people that have it. So having a very good card because they're so cheap, like Van Dijk, for example. I would much rather have Van Dijk at $50 or €50 on 10% than my Ben White on 15%, because Van Dijk's just going to score more, and he's so cheap, respective to like the platform. Not, you know, I'm not saying like people could just pick $50 up from anywhere and everywhere, but you know, respective to the platform, like these top tier players are becoming so affordable. And like Channy last week won 2 in-season cards from Classic, and he has good percentage scores, but not the best. And he made like £600 off of them. And then this week he's currently on podium in the Classic Special Weekly. And it's like people just they want to be able to buy a card on 15%, and you just can't. You know. So and that the harsh truth is, and again, one of the biggest problems that I think Sorare face genuinely is that everything just takes so long. The game weeks take so long, the XP growth takes so long, like getting your collections up takes so long because you've got to scout the market and find, like, people love that like endorphin release immediately. Like they really, like, you know, people get so addicted to just getting that. So the reason why TikTok works so well, because it's in constant, infinite, like little bits of endorphin rush. And Sorare doesn't offer that. Sorare offers like large waves of it every Tuesday and every Friday, unless you don't get a reward like I didn't this week. So then you just sit there crying.
I was just looking, there was a classic Van Dijk sold yesterday for £61, and the last in season was an instant buy at $257.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
I didn't realize like it's that drastic.
I mean, it goes to what we talked about before with Nep. Like that just doesn't add up. Like that shouldn't be that big of a gap. And I don't think the in-season price is the wrong one. I think
I was going to say, which one is wrong?
Yeah, I think the classic price is the wrong one.
But here's the quote unquote problem with Van Dijk is he's probably not even a top 10 Premier League defender in terms of like L15.
No, yeah, that's probably reasonable. It's probably close.
If only there
not
was
much good things in the Prem, to be fair, defense-wise.
He's 9th.
Yeah.
Leaf Davies you could probably take out. Sugawara as well, their transfers.
Yeah.
Walker Peters too.
Yeah.
Kwanzaa, like I'd rather much. Yeah,
so he's much higher.
He's probably in like 5th-ish. And like he's like, the thing is, like you look at like Kwanzaa and Robertson, like he's way more stable and you have to worry a lot less about him. So like you'd probably put him above him, the same thing. But I think
crazy to see Robertson, Van Dijk, and Trent Alexander-Arnold all there.
Yeah, and like I'd rather, obviously, like if I have a choice of everyone, it's Trent because he just has the highest upside. But like Virgil's price is so cheap.
How much is Romero's classic? Because his scores are so wild. Like he is so unbelievably disrespected on Sorare. You just don't see him much at all.
His last classic was 168.
Yeah,
nobody even wants it.
He's like almost 2.5x Van Dijk's classic. And that makes sense because he's like he just scores so much better.
His peaks are.
So is he not disrespected at all? Actually,
no. I mean, I think his price is fair. That's why I went and bought his super, because like
Nep was just saying he's the most disrespected player on the platform.
Well, you could be like, I think it's probably just my own personal bias. Like all I remember from Romero is just like red cards. But then actually, if you look at his like history, he's got a couple of red dots on there, and those DNPs are almost definitely suspensions. Like, but because of the way Spurs play, he gets so many last man tackles. Like he just defends a lot, and he's very aggressive, which means he's winning a lot of duels all the time. And he scores like a reasonable amount of goals. And it's like to have a centre back be able to hit those 100 so regularly is really, really unique in the Premier League. And that's why Van Dijk, who just floats between that 60 to 70 points all the time, is so cheap comparative. But I feel like what Sorare does, the Sorare community does, is they look at Romero, and there's probably people in the chat doing this now. They look at Romero, they look at Van Dijk, and they're like, yeah, I'm not buying Van Dijk because he scores 10 points less. And it's like, he does. But at this moment in time, there's only so many Romeros to go around. And also, it's like 60 points, 65 points still with like 10% bonus. You're still picking up 71, 72 points from him. Like for $50, like if you're in Division 2, or maybe you're not good enough to be in Division 1, maybe you are, but if you're in Division 2 even to a degree Division 3, that Van Dijk 60 points is hitting you regular boxes, and maybe a card every second or third game week on top of it. So it's not like you're not yielding off of it. It's just that you're not hitting those top spots and getting those stars. And you know, I'm personally all about like that jackpot opportunity. One of the things I loved about Sorare was trying to be able to win that like $25,000 Mbappe and such. But in the current Sorare climate, I'm like, damn, I need to go and look at the amount of cards that are in Van Dijk's region, because if you've got 5 guys constantly hitting 60 to 70 points, first of all, you're going to yield decent anyway. But second of all, there will be a week where a couple of them pop off to 90 or 100 and you're winning a top prize off of the back of it.
Somebody made a comment about Van Dijk in season limited. So his rare classic is $80 and his in season classic,
that's insane, isn't it?
87-ish, 80. It's the same price basically.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I would much rather be playing classic rare than classic rare than in season limited.
Yep. Do you feel the same?
No, I don't think so.
Sean, why do you prefer classic rare then?
Because I just would much rather be playing the rares than limited level. Also, the in-season limiteds will eventually become classic limiteds, and the price dumps off the cliff, whereas the classic rare remains classic rare. Especially with like high-end cards like that, you are going to have a pretty reasonable shot to win.
I mean, this looks like. Sorry, let me go back to rare. Like this is a fairly significant cliff.
Yeah, I'm already at the bottom of that cliff if I'm playing classic rare. If I'm playing in-season limited, I've got to go down that cliff.
Okay.
That's fair, yeah. I suppose it's like the somewhat arrogance in me that likes to believe that if I was playing in-season limited, I would win more because I would win things, you know.
Let's ask this question now. How often will you win in-season Premier League limited D1?
Like this season coming?
Just in general, how often do you think you would win in-season limited Premier League?
Does the one time I already won it count?
No.
Oh.
If you
why not? Wait, why not?
No, I'm saying how often will you win?
I think I will win 3 times this season.
In-season limited Division 1 Premier League. Can we bet on that?
Like I need a little bit of like
net
for it,
with
you know what I mean? Like
no. You said you went 3 times. I'll give you 3 times. 3 and over, you win. 2 and under, I win.
No, I won't take it. But the only reason why is because like there's so many unforeseen variables still to come. But like the game weeks that I think I will win will, like, for example, be at home to Ipswich for Arsenal, at home to Southampton, and like at home to Everton. Because and this is where I think the gamification and the way I treat the game will pay dividends, is because I will have the best XP and the best like collection bonus on those Arsenal players. Do I think Arsenal will pop off 3 times this season better than any other team in the Premier League? Yes. And they're the 3 weeks that I just will win, because nobody will be able to beat me.
Yeah, but you have to have the right 5 players those 3 weeks.
Precisely. And so that's why, like, in terms of like stacking now, I'm certainly leaning a little bit more away from full stacking and maybe moving a bit more into like I don't have it limited yet because I haven't bought any more, but like, you know, I have Bruno Fernandes in season, Haaland, Rodri, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Alisson. There's a couple of game weeks coming up. There's one in about 3 game weeks where City, Liverpool, and Arsenal all have incredible matchups. And I'm like, I think I should be winning Division 1 in season rare that week, because I've got the best players from the best teams with the best matchups. And if I can't believe in myself that I'm going to win in that week, when am I ever going to feel like I can win?
So is there no expectation that you can win Classic Prem Division 1?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You have more confidence that you can win the limited in season, or the, because like Classic, I'm just looking at it from like a prize perspective, that you win $1,500 for limited Division 1 and $700 a star rare. And like, both have boxes.
If I was to start right now, though, I would think that I could win more consistently at a higher level, limited Division 1 in season on the same budget compared to rare
That's fair.
Division 1.
And
Like,
is
I
that
wish
part of
we
that-
could. I wish we could actually do this and like actually like sort it out, because I think that would be interesting to see. But like, you can't really do it.
that's what I mean. The theory crafting is great, but you then
Yeah.
need to like, we need to come and have this conversation again in like 7 months' time and be like, well, how would we have done?
We need,
It's like-
we need to buy those cards and see
Yeah.
exactly what we would have done, because like we would have it on scale. But then like we have to go buy all those cards. We got to run it every week. Yada yada yada. It's
yeah.
obviously a lot.
One person can do that. I don't know if it's somebody on this stream, but like somebody can do it. Like
No,
you,
I mean, to be
you
fair,
can literally do both.
To
with
be
the-
fair,
with the
Nep
budget.
and I could do this. Like, I think we both have the financial means to do this. This isn't like
If you gave me the money, we do, yeah.
yeah, if you gave me the money, yeah, I agree. Like, it's not like we're not saying like we need to put in 100K to make this happen. Like, we need to put in like
So
5.
hold on. So which one determines the budget? Is it here are the limited cards that I think I want to buy in order to win in season Prem D1? Or is the budget here's what I want to win Prem Classic Rare D1? Because surely that's more expensive.
In theory, you just buy the same exact cards at both level, and then you run the same exact lineup every week in both competitions.
That would actually be quite interesting, wouldn't it?
Just to be clear, I don't care enough to do this, but it would be very interesting.
Now, do you buy just 5 players, or are we buying some extras for injuries, rotations, suspensions?
Yeah, you buy whatever you
budget
buy,
thing, right?
you just buy the same for both. So you'd have this. It would be like perfect if we had the ability to have another account where we just could do this account. We could just buy the same players. So like, okay, you want to pull Palmer forward? Cool. We're buying one of each scarcity, so it's available in each option. And then you go through, you set the same lineup every week. It would actually be a pretty interesting thing.
But you can't do that. It's like Palmer's actually the reason you can't do that right now.
Yeah.
Why?
In Sac,
Well, you'd have
because
to
you
buy
can't
it
buy
in
a
season, wouldn't
classic
you?
Palmer forward card.
Oh, true. Well, you could just buy it. You could buy a 2 in seasons and just use it in classic.
I mean, that's already putting it way out of budget. Like now we're not comparing the same
Yeah,
thing.
the point wasn't like from a budget perspective for like.
No, it was. No, that's exactly what it was.
No, that was the starting point of this. Then it sort of went just into like what you could win more of. Like it started with that, and then it sort of went into a different path.
It is
All theory crafting.
perfect
Then
that
we
you
just went
thought
to a
that.
different theory.
that you were like, we're comparing two things, and you're like, no. Let me just do the more expensive one because that makes more sense.
No. I think Depp was on the same page as me. As it would just be interesting to see like what you could win more of if you had the same like cards in both.
Yeah,
Like
just
where
the
Well, like we would show both, but like the idea would be like, what could you win more of if you could only do one? But you need to run both to actually see
have to
what
run
you
both
could
to
win
see,
more
exactly.
of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who in chat is doing this for us? Nelson said, give me the money and they'll do it, but that's not the point.
To be
So
fair,
Rob said, you have to buy it. You could use Sorare data. No, the problem is that even like if you did it, now your XP is different every week. Like it's just
everything it all changes. Yeah.
right.
Nep would make the most sense to do it because he has all these cards in Classic, so like he could just buy them in season 2. But also, it would be a lot easier if you just had a whole nother account. And like if we could actually just have another account, I would consider doing it because it would be a lot easier to just like do
We
it.
might have to speak to Sorare.
Yeah,
But I don't think they'll allow it though. Like they've clamped down massively on multi accounts at the moment. Yeah.
They shouldn't let that happen.
They shouldn't let that
Like
happen.
none of this. Like I don't think they will. They should not let this
They should
happen.
not let this happen. Someone said on Twitter, there was a tweet at some point that someone did ask them for permission to do this, and Sorare said yes, and then they got banned, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I asked
like
them
the next day.
I asked them for the World Cup thing. Could I have an account to show people how to play the game? And they said yes. And then I think the reason why I think now is because of the £50 like market credits and stuff. Like you can start like really farming that and manipulating that.
We need Larry to hit 18 so he can play, and we can just run all these on it. And Larry, you're the guinea pig to tell us how all this stuff works out.
I do wonder how they would like monitor like my wife. She likes to like bet on football. She's not very good at it, and she just goes with the team names that she likes. You know, like she's like, "Oh, I just like their name," and they had reasonable odds. And I'm like, but like, you know, I'm like, but their star players out this week. Like, how did you not know that? You know, like, I said to her all the time, every time she's like, "Oh, I lost another bet." I'm like, "Why don't you just play Sorare?" I'm like, how would they differentiate between
Hmm.
two people in the same household playing the game?
I love how you like are like, how could you just light money like that on fire? And you're just like, hey, let me buy these JPEGs.
Yeah,
I
but
love how
she
threw
loses
his
like
life
real
on
money
it.
though. Do you know what I mean? I lose investments.
Right,
Actually,
of course.
Yeah.
Here's a funny wife story. Since he threw his wife under the bus, I'll throw mine under the bus. She's actually home today, so she can hear it too. I told her about the one time when I talked about her toxic trait, and she's like, "Yeah, instead of it being a red flag, it's more like a beige flag." So, anyways, so we had she had her fantasy draft like 2 weeks ago, and she doesn't know tons about the NFL when she does her fantasy draft, but like in the lead up, she's walking over to the door now and giving me the finger right now. So she just gave me the finger.
Well deserved.
So she bashed Harrison Butker for like a week leading up to the draft. NepentheZ, have you heard the Harrison Butker quotes and stuff?
I have not.
So he basically thinks women only should be in the kitchen making him dinner and stuff like that. That's basically his view on women. So, anyways, my wife goes to her draft and she comes home and she's telling me her team because she likes to tell me her team. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, okay. She gets to her kicker. She's like, Harrison Butker. I'm like, wait a minute. You bashed this guy for a week to me for his viewpoint on women, and then you draft him. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe I drafted him. Everyone's going to think so badly of me. So, and then she's like, I totally forgot. I'm like, you've literally talked about it for like 5 days about how awful he is. So anyways, that night we obviously had no dinner plans picked out because we had nothing going on that day. So she's like, what are we doing for dinner? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Based on your views, that sounds like a you problem to have to think about. And she's just sitting there just completely frazzled by me. I'm like, hey, you're the one that drafted him, not me. And then she gave me the finger again. So apparently she just is giving me the finger in these situations.
Sometimes you deserve it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get it for just being right.
Every husband is sitting there like, because sometimes you deserve it. Like, what was the point of that? What were we talking about?
Nep threw his wife under the bus, so I had to throw mine under.
Not multi accounting is where it's
multi-accounting,
isn't it?
Yeah. He said his wife bets on football, but is terrible at it.
Right.
He does win like from time to time, but
Deanne said they have 78 multi accounts. Why do you think you stop at 78?
Larry's for sure going to have an account if Sorare is still around when he's 18. He's too interested in it not to.
He's been badgering me to get an account.
Yeah.
And I learned that you can play Rivals at 16.
Oh.
What's
Larry at now? Is he like 14 now?
13.
Yeah, it's close.
He's getting closer.
Yeah, he's getting close. I was going to say, there's no way, with how interested he is, there's no way he wouldn't have one.
Yeah, I'm very excited for his jump into crypto.
The good news for Larry is when he does get into Sorare, Lamine Yamal will still be under 23.
True.
For
years.
Years, yeah. Yeah. We got anything else?
Nope, I got to go, though.
Oh, no. Yeah, no. No, Sean's got to go.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. I was just looking. We're at 225 people watching right now. Excuse me, 227. We have 70 likes, which is just outrageous. And if anybody knows how important likes are, it's Nep. And so if you could please like the stream, subscribe to the channel, go over to Nep's channel. I'm sorry, Nep. What was it called again?
No,
just search Sorare NepentheZ. You'll find it. It's excellent content. He's doing it every day, or, no?
Just regularly now. Not every day, but a lot.
How about daily? What do we have to do to get daily?
Pay me like loads of money. Because it's not about like the want is there, the desire is there, but it takes up like we've got another like 10 days before the new FIFA game comes out. So I've got 10 days of like lots of spare time. So I can actually apply that to making Sorare content. But as soon as the new FIFA game comes, that's where my time's going to go. So I just won't have the time. So you need to like all of the loss of earnings from not making FIFA content needs to be made up by Sorare. Once that barrier has been set, I'll go fully Sorare content.
Yeah, I was talking to Haber. Haber said that he was looking to book a trip last week somewhere because he just was bored out of his mind. He hurt his ankle again or something, and he's just bored out of his mind. So he's like trying to do a trip. And but he said, and he's like, yeah, 10 days, the new FIFA comes out, and I will be in my office for 3 months straight.
Yep.
Which is honestly pretty similar to like how my fall goes. It's just mine started like 2 weeks ago, and this is sort of just my break from like my day to day of that is like the hour I spent talking to Laird.
What a break.
Well, I'll be here every day. Picking up
Not
the
weekends
slack.
though, which honestly leaves a hole in a lot of people's lives.
True.
It doesn't really. That's when you watch football.
No, it does.
No, that's when you
ask the
should.
210 people that are left in the chat now. How many of you guys are like, damn, what am I going to watch this weekend now that Sorare is not putting up a show?
You literally watch football. That's when you watch football. That's not when I watch football. Heaven forbid.
You never watch football.
Never is incorrect.
You very, very seldomly watch it.
That more correct. Anyway, thank you everybody for coming. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Shout out to Quinny. Nep, thanks so much for coming on.
You're very
welcome. And I'll see you tomorrow because tomorrow is another day, and that's when I do content.